Alright, I know I said I was gonna have a new big video out by the end of last month, but as you might be able to tell, that didn't happen.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
I know, I'm sorry, but please try to understand. On top of unforeseen audio issues forcing me to re-record all of the narration, it also turns out that being a full-time wage slave is, kind of exhausting. While I do plan to get that video out as soon as I can, I also wanted to put out one of these smaller videos in the meantime to try and make it up to you. So, let's talk about Advanced VG2. We'll start off with something that I covered last time we were here. One of the more important aspects of high-level Advanced VG2 is zero-frame supers. Zero-frame supers are EX and super special moves which become active 0 frames after Super Flash. The practical upshot of this property is that if you're not already inputting a block before the Super Flash occurs, then your character won't be able to start blocking in time and the attack will hit. The way you defend yourself from these, aside from just not being near them, is by inputting an invincible move or zero-frame super of your own during Super Flash, since the game's input buffer will allow that. Zero-frame supers are as important as they are because of their utility as defensive options. Because reversal options with reliable invincibility are surprisingly hard to come by in AVG2, being able to punish almost any gap in your opponent's offense for 1 bar is extremely valuable. Which brings us to where we were last time, where I talked about zero-frame supers completely failing to trigger the opponent's blocking animation when used on Wake Up. And that is kind of what happens, but it's a bit more complicated than that. Here's where we get into a really weird technical detail. Right now, you can see that at point blank range, Yuka's sprite is overlapping on top of Kaori's sprite. To establish some terminology, we'll say that Yuka has high draw priority, or HDP, because her sprite is currently being drawn before Kaori's. Conversely, we'll say that Kaori has low draw priority, or LDP, because her sprite is being drawn after Yuka's. Generally speaking, a character gains HDP whenever they perform an attack, though there are a few exceptional cases that force LDP in specific situations. The short version is that zero-frame attacks fail to trigger your opponent's blocking animation if your character currently has LDP. The reason this happens is because of a developer oversight that causes an attack performed during LDP to trigger the opponent's blocking animation 1 frame later than it normally should, which effectively makes some zero-frame supers faster than blocking under these conditions. Now, here's some cool stuff I didn't show off last time we were here. Check this out. This is called a slide jump, and it's basically a kind of extended super jump, performed by double tapping down forward or down back and then tapping up. It's not quite an air dash, but it's shockingly close. And in a game where fighting for aerial dominance is super important, being able to fling yourself from one end of the screen to the other is really useful both offensively and defensively. The reason this works is because of a couple factors working together. The first is that double tapping down forward and down back are still technically valid dashing inputs in AVG2. The second is that the 2 ways to perform a super jump are by either pressing a downward direction before a jump, or by jumping out of a dash. With the slide jump input, you basically do both super jumps at the same time, which causes the game to apply the distance and velocity of both super jumps to 1 bound. Naturally, only characters who can dash jump are able to use slide jump, so if you're Ayako, Elirin, Manami, or Material, you're SOL. Sorry. On the plus side, if you're Chiho and you try to perform a slide jump while Genei-jin is active, you get to do something really funny. Anyway, Advanced VG2 is cool, you should play it.